We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold summit talks with Russian President Putin with focus on boosting bilateral ties. PM Modi to receive the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle, Russia's highest honor, on Tuesday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Austria's capital Vienna. PM Modi to become first Indian PM to visit Austria after a gap of over 40 years, marking 75 years of India-Austria diplomatic relations. US President Joe Biden to host NATO's 75th anniversary summit in Washington. Military and financial support for Ukraine high on the agenda. And in sports, Euro 2024 is into its final stages with just 4 teams remaining in the hunt. High voltage clash tonight as 3 times winner Spain to take on France for a spot in the finals. Well, on to the details now. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold summit talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. PM Modi arrived in Moscow on Monday on a 2-day visit to Russia. He was received by the first Deputy Prime Minister of Russia and accorded ceremonial welcome. PM Modi also met members of Indian diaspora. Take a look.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Moscow to great fanfare. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was received by Russia's first Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov at the Vnukovo Second Airport and was accorded a ceremonial welcome upon his arrival. After landing in Moscow, Prime Minister Modi on a social media post said, "Looking forward to further deepening the special and privileged strategic partnership between our nations, especially in futuristic areas of cooperation. Stronger ties between our nations will greatly benefit our people." After reaching the hotel in Moscow, Prime Minister Modi received a traditional warm welcome from the Indian diaspora. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin will engage in private talks, followed by delegation-level discussions led by both leaders. India and Russia are currently preparing a series of outcome documents across various areas, which will be a result of the summit.
Prime Minister has a packed schedule. He'll be attending the 22nd annual summit. He will have restricted and delegation-level talks, and he will meet the Indian community. He will address the Indian community members and also visit Rosatom, an exhibition space.
The Prime Minister is also scheduled to meet with the Indian community in Russia on Tuesday and lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier in the Kremlin. Additionally, a visit to the Rosatom Pavilion at the Moscow exhibition venue is on the agenda. The 22nd annual summit between India and Russia will provide an opportunity for both leaders to review the full spectrum of bilateral issues, including defense, trade, investment, energy cooperation, science and technology, education, culture, and people-to-people exchanges.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be accompanied by Russian President Vladimir Putin at the Atom Exhibition Center here in Moscow. Now, this exhibition center showcases the history of achievement of the Soviet Union in the nuclear industry that goes much beyond weapons and also focuses on medicines and digital industry. The two leaders will also be looking at the history of the nuclear industry from the Soviet era to the modern times and the cooperation between the two countries. The Prime Minister will also be interacting with students, both Indian and Russian, tomorrow here at this center. This is Jessica Thaneja with video journalist Shubham in Moscow for DD India.
Well, the Russian President Putin hosted a private dinner for PM Modi at his country home on the outskirts of Moscow. Both the leaders got an opportunity away from the public glare to focus on more sensitive issues on the agenda. And DD India's Jessica Taneja joins us from Moscow for more. Well, Jessica, good morning. If we talk about yesterday's PM Modi and Putin informal camaraderie meet at dinner, can you give us an overall on it? And as Putin appreciated and congratulated PM Modi, and PM Modi replied, and I quote, "You are right, I have only one goal, it is the people and my country."
Well, yes, he met with the Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday, and the dinner hosted by him. It has been an eventful day and a packed schedule for the Prime Minister, focused on the India-Russia ties, the historic ties. And of course, as Russian President Vladimir Putin calls Prime Minister Modi a time-tested friend, and this visit has certainly reinforced those ties further. And remember, this is his first visit to Moscow, and almost first visit in the last 5 years as well. So a crucial meet today. We'll expect a packed schedule towards the day as well, where he would be going to the Kremlin. He would be receiving the highest honor, and of course later, first starting with interaction with the diaspora.
All right. Also, Jessica, can you please tell us as to how is Prime Minister Modi's day planned for today, and also about the honor to be bestowed on him?
Well, as I just pointed out, he will start his day by interacting with the community here. The Indian diaspora awaits. Well, that interaction would be crucial. We've already seen people come in. The hundreds are expected to gather in the hall to see the Prime Minister. Once that is over, he will head to the Rosatom Exhibition Center, where he will be accompanied by the Russian President. After that, he will go to the Kremlin, hold delegation level. There'll be delegation level talks and restricted talks as well. After that, we can expect some announcements later in the day.
All right. Also, Jessica, what all can be expected from the formal India-Russia talks today?
Well, expect a lot of focus on the economic ties. Of course, energy and defense sector have dominated the bilateral trade at this point. But of course, let's also understand what all could be taken up. There are many other industries that demand attention at this point, particularly pharmaceuticals, the textile industry, the chemicals industry, fertilizers as well. So expect a lot of discussion on that. And when we talk about energy, of course, that is also going to surface on how India has been able to drive its economic engine through discounted Russian crude. So that will be something to watch out for as well.
All right. Also, another emerging issue with the recruitment of Indians to work as Russian military is also very important. Can something be expected over that?
Absolutely, Lipakshi. Well, there will be a mention of the Indians who've been recruited and were sent here, coerced into working in the front lines, and of course that will be coming up, and India has said that this issue will be taken up seriously and ensure their safe return home.
All right, Jessica, thank you so much for all that update from there. And moving on, Russia is a long-standing and time-tested partner for India. Since both countries raised their partnership to a strategic partnership in October 2000, the ties have acquired a qualitatively new character. Political, security, defense, trade, science and technology, culture and people-to-people ties are the broad areas of cooperation. Mihir Maikuri reports for more.
India and Russia share a long history of cooperation that dates back decades. Russia has been a long-standing and time-tested partner to India. Development of India-Russia relations has been a key pillar of India's foreign policy. The annual summit between the Prime Minister of India and the President of the Russian Federation is the highest institutionalized dialogue mechanism in the strategic partnership between India and Russia. India and Russia share deep historical roots, significantly strengthened by Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his tenure as Chief Minister of Gujarat. Now let's take a look at the growing ties between India and Russia. PM Modi's first visit to Russia on the 6th of November 2001, when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. PM Modi accompanied the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee to Moscow for India-Russia summit with President Vladimir Putin. During this visit, the then Chief Minister Modi signed a protocol pact for cooperation between Gujarat and Astrakhan. They agreed to work together in the fields of diverse sectors including trade, education, petroleum and hydrocarbon sectors, science and technology, tourism and culture. In 2006, the then Chief Minister visited Astrakhan and met the Governor Alexander Zilkin. The protocol pact for cooperation was extended for another 5 years. In 2009, he was invited to address the 4th International Energy Week and the 9th Russian Oil and Gas Week conference. Since 2014, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has placed special emphasis on strengthening India-Russia ties, boosting relations across various sectors. 60% of trade between India and Russia is now done in national currencies. Bilateral trade is set to reach an all-time high of $65.7 billion in FY 22-23. Key exports from India include pharmaceuticals, organic chemicals and iron and steel. Major commodities imported from Russia include oil, petroleum products and fertilizers. India-Russia bilateral investments surpassed the previous target of $30 billion in 2018. The revised target of $50 billion has been set for 2025. Now let's take a look at the defense ties. Biennial joint military exercises titled Indra conducted between the armed forces of India and Russia. India holds a 2+2 dialogue with Russia involving foreign and defense ministers. Indian Army has Russian tanks like T-72 and T-90. The Indian Air Force also has variants of MiG-21, Su-30 and MiG-29 aircraft in its fleet. The Russian President Vladimir Putin has always praised PM Modi's leadership. PM Modi also calls Russia a time-tested partner. This visit has taken the ties of the two countries to a new high. Mihir Maikuri's report, DD India.
Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also visit Austria's capital Vienna after his Russia trip. The last time an Indian PM went to Austria was over 40 years ago, although India and Austria have been friends for 75 years with extensive trade, tech, sustainable development and people-to-people ties. The PM will also be interacting with the 31,000-strong Indian diaspora in Austria to further strengthen relations with a key European nation. DD India's Gautam Roy reports for more from Vienna.
India-Austria ties go back 75 years. They both share common values such as democratic principles and pluralism. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Austria on Tuesday and Wednesday, where he'll call on President Alexander von der Bellen and hold delegation-level talks with his counterpart, Federal Chancellor Karl Nehammer. In his departure statement, the PM said, "I look forward to my discussions to take our partnership to even greater heights in new and emerging areas of innovation, technology and sustainable development, among others. Together with the Austrian Chancellor, I look forward to exchanging views with business leaders from both sides to explore mutually beneficial trade and investment opportunities." Austria has a multicultural society with over 31,000 strong Indian diaspora. The PM will also be interacting with them during his visit, which is a much-awaited event for the members of the Indian community.
Everyone is looking forward to meet Prime Minister Modi ji, and it's after a long time that an Indian Prime Minister is coming to Austria, and he has done a lot for the foreign politics and helped a lot for the economic growth and everything. So everyone is looking forward.
Indian diaspora, especially the students and researcher, the subgroup I belong to, is very excited for Prime Minister Modi's visit to Austria. We are looking forward to it, and I am pretty much excited to see how the socio-economical and cultural aspects play forward from this point onwards.
India and Austria have extensive relations from infrastructure, technology to sustainable development. Trade is well balanced, around $3 billion each year. Indian exports to Austria stand at $1.52 billion. Imports from Austria stand at $1.41 billion. Indian investments in Austria amount to over $1 billion. Austrian investments in India are at over $800 billion. Austria offers opportunities for collaboration in multiple fields, ranging from infrastructure, renewable energy to startups. India and Austria Startup Bridge was launched in February 2024. 20+ Indian startups went to Austria in June this year to participate in a startup event. India and Austria have also inked a landmark comprehensive migration and mobility agreement in May 2024. India and Austria have been friends for 75 years, and a gap of over 40 years will be filled by the visit of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Austria and when these two leaders meet. There's a 31,000 strong Indian community as well who've been looking forward to interact and meet the Prime Minister, and all these events will take the relationship between India and Austria forward into the future, be it in trade, tech or sustainable development. With Current President Pramod Negi, Gautam Roy in Vienna, Austria for DD India.
All right, DD India's Gautam Roy now joins us from Vienna for more. Well, Gautam, what all is on the agenda?
Is that it's a landmark year for India-Austria ties, 75 years that they've been friends. Also, the fact that after over 40 years is a head of government from India coming to Austria. That's what this occasion really represents. And Prime Minister Modi will be ensuring that India and Austria review the entire gamut of ties, because these are fairly extensive in trade and commerce. They range from cooperation on infrastructure to technology to sustainable development. There are a lot of cultural and educational links as well. There's a strong Indian diaspora, about 31,000 strong Indian diaspora in Austria, and a lot of students also come here for their education, higher education and otherwise. So all these things, apart from issues of regional and international interest, ranging from what is of interest to Europe, critical interest, because the Prime Minister's just been to Moscow as well. So the war in Ukraine, and of course the issue of as far as trade and improving that with the European Union is also concerned. The India-EU Trade Pact, since Austria is a key member there, could also come up, and certain issues related to startups and, like I mentioned, technology can also be taken forward by the two leaders.
All right. Also, what are the PM's engagements going to be through the 2 days he is in Austria?
Landing in Vienna, which is the capital of Austria, at 6:30 p.m. local time, and from there on is when his trip to Austria will begin. The first day, of course, there's a dinner with the Austrian Federal Chancellor. That is, of course, going to be the highlight as well. The two leaders will have some time to themselves before the actual meet, which is the next day on Wednesday, will begin from 9:55 a.m. And that's a packed day for Prime Minister Modi, because everything really is happening on that day. Delegation level talks. There will be media statements that will be made. The two leaders will be doing that. Also, he'll be calling on President von der Bellen as well at the presidential palace. And apart from that, there's an Austria-India CEOs meeting. And then, of course, what the Indian community, the Indian diaspora in Austria has been looking forward to after such a long time, after 40 years. An Indian head of government is coming here, and he'll be interacting with them in Vienna here as well. So that is a big headline event for the community here, and that will also be taking place on Wednesday.
All right. Thank you so much, Gautam, for all that update from there. And still to come in DD India News Hour, we'll give you a roundup on the French election result after Macron has refused to accept the PM's resignation in the wake of inconclusive poll results. US President Biden under scrutiny over his health. The Democrats call on Biden to step down, but Biden stands firm, says running race to the end. Also, we'll update you on Israel-Hamas talks, as Hamas chief says latest Israeli attacks on Gaza could jeopardize ceasefire talks.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future, because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, the NATO summit starts in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday with heads of state from 32 member nations and other partners gathering to discuss defense strategy. It's a historic summit, 75 years since the North Atlantic Treaty Organization was formed in the aftermath of World War II. The war in Ukraine is top of the agenda with a wider threat of Russia as it gets more support from the likes of China and North Korea, being of increasing concern. DD India's Caroline Malone reports for more from Washington.
The fighting rages on in Ukraine 2.5 years since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. A war that's now killed hundreds of thousands of people and created wider insecurity. As the leaders of 32 NATO countries and their partners meet in the US capital, Ukraine continues to push for membership.
The alliance will agree on a bridge to membership for Ukraine into NATO. What this means is that Ukraine will continue making the reforms that it needs to make and that it is committed to make as part of its annual plan with NATO, as well as with other agreements, and that in that context we see its movement toward the alliance as is irreversible, effectively.
US officials have said there will be sessions with partners Japan, South Korea, Australia and New Zealand to discuss the support Russia gets from Iran, North Korea and China.
Some think that NATO should have a presence in the Indo-Pacific to really push back against Chinese aggression and Chinese expansionism, while some people think that NATO should focus closer to home, get the Russia threat right first, figure out how to not just spend more on defense, but spend in a way that is efficient and in a way that allows for more continuity between various regions within the NATO alliance.
There is widespread understanding that Ukraine does need more support, additional air defences, as well as billions of dollars in weapons already sent by individual NATO countries. On Tuesday evening, NATO members will gather at a commemoration event to mark 75 years since the end of World War II and 12 allies signing a transatlantic agreement.
We will now proceed to the signing of the North Atlantic Treaty.
Well, during the summit, NATO will officially welcome Sweden as its newest member, bringing their total numbers to 32. At least 23 of those members have already committed at least 2% of their GDP on defence. That's a huge increase from previous years and a show of a united front against Russia's progression. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
Well, NATO is expected to pledge unwavering support for Ukraine this week as leaders meet in Washington, D.C. for the 75th anniversary summit of the military alliance. The United States says security threats in the Indo-Pacific will also be discussed during the three-day meeting. Nick Harper reports for more from Washington, D.C.
The US says discussions about Ukraine's membership to NATO will be central to this summit. The alliance plans to agree on what's being called a bridge to membership. That would see Ukraine continue to make reforms, which in return, the US State Department says, would make Ukraine's path to membership irreversible. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg says that allies are close to formulating the next steps plan for Ukraine, something which could be agreed on during this summit. Leaders are also expected to commit to extra support for Ukraine. That includes a command centre in Germany to train Ukrainians, the delivery of more weapons and ammunition, a substantial increase in air defence capabilities, plus around €40 billion of financial support for the country. This week, the Indo-Pacific partners, namely New Zealand, Australia, Japan and South Korea, will also be in Washington to meet with NATO heads. China and North Korea's support of Russia, including giving Moscow weapons for its war in Ukraine, has worried NATO allies. That, along with Beijing's expansionism in the South China Sea. The four Indo-Pacific partners are expected to discuss with NATO better cooperation on issues like cybersecurity and fighting disinformation, while also looking to build up defence industrial bases. The US's senior advisor for Europe at the National Security Council said on Monday that the security of Europe hinges on security in the Indo-Pacific. Leaders have already begun arriving in Washington. Later on Tuesday, they meet to officially commemorate the 75th anniversary of the alliance at the very location here in the city where the alliance originally signed the pact. Then on Wednesday, NATO's newest member, Sweden, will be welcomed before a formal dinner at the White House. And then major meetings on Ukraine and the Indo-Pacific on Thursday. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
And as the US President Joe Biden is going to host a NATO summit to mark its 75th anniversary in Washington, D.C. from July 9th to 11th, a White House spokesperson said that the NATO members are assured of the leadership of Biden and his seriousness about the grouping.
I think the question presupposes the notion that they need to be reassured of American leadership and President Biden's commitment, and I don't believe that's the case. We're not picking up any signs of that from our allies at all, quite the contrary. The conversations that we're having with them in advance, they're excited about this summit, they're excited about the possibilities and the things that we're going to be doing together, specifically to help Ukraine.
Well, the White House comes with a supporting statement for U.S. President Biden after a report surfaced about his Parkinson's disease. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stressed on Monday that Biden was not being treated for Parkinson's disease. A report by New York Times revealed that a doctor specializing in the illness visited the White House at least 8 times from August through March. Parkinson's is basically a disorder of the central nervous system that affects movement, often including tremors.
President being treated for Parkinson's? No. Is he being treated for Parkinson's? No, he's not. Is he taking medication for Parkinson's? No. So those are the things that I can give you full-blown answers on, but I'm not going to confirm a specialist, any specialist that comes to the White House.
All right. Also, U.S. President Biden is under severe scrutiny over his physical and mental health. This is after his disastrous presidential debate with Republican rival Donald Trump. A growing number of Democrats in the U.S. Congress are calling on Biden to end his re-election bid. Meanwhile, Biden, dismissing the concerns, is vowed to run in the race till the end. He stood firm and told congressional Democrats in a letter on Monday that he would continue his election bid. Well, the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, started off campaign for her husband, Democrat Joe Biden, on Monday in North Carolina, endorsing his second term. She declared she is all in for her husband.
For all the talk out there about this race, Joe has made it clear that he's all in. Thank you. Thank you. That's the decision that he's made. And just as he has always supported my career, I am all in too. I know you are too, or you wouldn't be here today. And with 4 more years, Joe will continue to fight for you, the military community that we are humbled and proud to call our own.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Major flooding and road closures as Hurricane Beryl lashes Texas, causing further damage to life and property. We'll give you an update on the monsoons and IMD alerts and situation in Assam and Maharashtra. And the flagship platform for Taiwan-India Economic and Cultural Exchanges, Taiwan Expo in India 2024, returns to New Delhi.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold summit talks with Russian President Putin with focus on boosting bilateral ties. PM Modi to receive the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle, Russia's highest honor, on Tuesday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Austria's capital Vienna. PM Modi to become the first Indian PM to visit Austria after a gap of over 40 years, marking 75 years of India-Austria diplomatic relations. US President Joe Biden to host NATO's 75th anniversary summit in Washington. Military and financial support for Ukraine high on the agenda. And in sports, Euro 2024 is into its final stages with just 4 teams remaining in the hunt. High voltage clash tonight as 3 times winner Spain to take on France for a spot in the finals. Well, a shock result in France's parliamentary elections has left the country without a government, with no parties securing a majority. It's a loss for President Macron's party, Renaissance, but also a loss for the predicted winners, the far-right National Rally. DD India's Stuart Smith has more from Paris. Take a look.
The far-right National Rally Party says it was defeated by an unnatural political alliance, a bloc of centrists with a bloc of left-wingers working together to try to make sure that a far-right government didn't make it into power. That is what has happened, and it seems to have worked on Monday. No right-wing government for France, but also no potential for any other government. The left bloc and centre bloc that worked together in this election to make sure the far right did not make it into power are also diametrically opposed on so many issues. The left-wingers, for example, would entirely revoke the centrist policies related to tax reform that Emmanuel Macron has pushed through with his party over the last 7 years. So now coalition talks are beginning, but with no clear sense how on earth there can be a path here to shared government, something which is not normal in France, while the Olympics take place, an event of international importance, and while these coalition talks continue. The far right says it's not out. National Rally says this is just them getting ready for 2027 when they'll have a go at the presidential election. And indeed, they doubled the number of seats despite the centrists and the left-wingers for working together to prevent their victory. So by no means has that party gone away. But in the meantime, France is left without a government, and it does mean that there will be weeks and months of talks to try to create one. Stuart Smith in France, reporting for DD India.
An update on Israel-Hamas conflict now. Hamas chief on Monday threatened that Israel's latest offensive in Gaza could jeopardize ceasefire talks. The terror group said the new offensive appeared intended to derail the talks. The Israeli army released a video on Monday showing ground forces operating in Gaza. The Israeli military in a statement said it had been mounting an operation against terror infrastructure in Gaza and that it had taken out of action more than 30 Palestinian fighters who posed a threat to Israeli troops. Israeli military later issued new evacuation orders for the Gaza city areas of Sabra, Rimal, Tel Havawa and Daraj, telling people to head to Deir al-Baha in central Gaza. The Israeli military said a route would be opened for civilians to evacuate. The latest Israeli offensive comes as Egypt, Qatar and the United States stepped up efforts to mediate a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. And the United States on Monday said that senior U.S. officials are in Cairo for talks to achieve a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said the talks have resumed, but gaps still remain between the two sides.
We have a team in Cairo right now that includes Brett McGurk and the director of the CIA. They're meeting with their Egyptian, Israeli, and Jordanian counterparts, and there'll be follow-on discussions after that over the next few days. Look, we've been working this very, very hard, and there are still some gaps that remain in the two sides and the positions. The President believes wholeheartedly that this ceasefire proposal that we are trying to get done will make a big difference in terms of not only temporarily ceasing hostilities, but potentially giving us an opening to end this conflict.
Well, in other updates, Israel's opposition leader Yair Lapid has promised to support Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in parliament. At a meeting of his parliamentary faction, Lapid reiterated his offer to provide PM Netanyahu a political safety net in order to advance a potential hostage deal despite the opposition of the premier's far-right allies. Lapid's pledge aims to ensure the release of Israeli hostages and maintain governmental stability despite his political differences with Netanyahu. Head of the Labour Party, Yair Golan, also said he would back Netanyahu on a deal to release the hostages. Well, some far-right partners in Netanyahu's coalition have said they will quit if the conflict ends before Israel has eradicated Hamas and freed the hostages. Lapid's Yesh Atid party holds 24 seats in the Israeli parliament, a crucial number compared to the 13 seats of the far-right parties opposed to the ceasefire. Well, the U.S. has agreed to forgive $35 million of Indonesian debt over the next 9 years in return for the Southeast Asian country restoring and preserving coral reefs. This debt forgiveness is part of a broader environmental initiative whereby Indonesia commits to restoring and preserving its coral reefs. Coral reefs are crucial ecosystems that support marine biodiversity, protect coastlines from erosion. By participating in this debt for nature swap, Indonesia will implement conservation programs aimed at safeguarding and rehabilitating its coral reefs. A North Korean elite military training delegation has left for a visit to Russia. The visit marks the first military exchange between the two countries since their leaders signed a pact pledging closer military cooperation. The military university delegation calls the latest North Korean visit to Russia as they exchanged a record number of high-level officials in the past year, including Russian President Putin's visit to Pyongyang in June. Well, the Ministry of Economic Affairs of Taiwan is organizing the Taiwan Expo 2024 in New Delhi. The three-day event, which is being held from 8th to 10th of July, is showcasing some of the best cutting-edge technologies and innovation from Taiwan and also seeking investment opportunities in India. DD India correspondent Debyendu Mondal has more on this.
The Taiwan Expo 2024 is a significant milestone in fostering India-Taiwan growth, highlighting the potential for collaboration between the two economies. The three-day expo features world-class innovation and cutting-edge technologies from Taiwan, spanning various sectors. Among the highlights is the Taiwan Excellence Pavilion, organized by the Taiwan government, where 24 renowned brands are presenting their latest products and solutions. This pavilion provides a platform to strengthen the enduring ties between India and Taiwan. It also stands as a testament to Taiwan's commitment to excellence and innovation.
We are showcasing 24 companies with their 66 award-winning products. And the pavilion covers three themes. First is smart manufacturing, second is ICT and AI, and third is smart living, and fitness.
The participation of these Taiwanese companies not only opens doors for business, but also strengthens the bilateral relation between India and Taiwan. The expo is a hub for exchanging ideas, forging new partnerships, and paving the way for future growth.
We are looking for the investment and like a retail store, like a department store and a grocery store or organic food store. So I think this is a good place to present Lechha Latte and let us India people can try our culture beverage and to get to know Taiwan culture.
With the central theme, Immerse yourself in the future, the bouquet of new innovation and technology leaves visitors spellbound and redefines industries. This 3 days Taiwan Expo 2024 gives opportunities to business companies from both the countries to engage and further strengthen the ties for business between both the countries. With camera person Vinay, this is Debyendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
Well, on to some weather updates now. The India Meteorological Department warned of heavy downpours during the day on Tuesday in Karnataka, Goa, Arunachal Pradesh and Maharashtra. The weathermen also issued a red alert for these states today. In addition to this, an orange alert is in place for Assam and Meghalaya. Heavy rain lashed several parts of India's western state of Maharashtra's Mumbai city on Tuesday. Indian Meteorological Department issued a high tide alert in Mumbai following incessant heavy rainfall. Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation has declared a holiday in all schools and colleges in its jurisdiction in view of the heavy rain warning in the region. The decision came after seeing the roads and locality inundated with rainwater. IMD has also predicted heavy rainfall at isolated places in Mumbai till 12th of July. Meanwhile, services of Harbour Line track of Central Railway was operationalized at 4:30 a.m. IST after the water receded on Tuesday. Its services were suspended on a stretch on Monday night due to waterlogging on the tracks amid heavy rains. And DD India's Yogesh Sheetal joins us for more from Mumbai on this. Well, Yogesh, IMD issues heavy rain warning in Mumbai. How bad is the current situation as schools also closed?
Good morning, Lipakshi. The situation, in fact, improved because after the instant rains yesterday were seen, now the sun is started to peek through the clouds, and all the services that were suspended yesterday, whether it is Mumbai local or the buses rerouted, buses basically, the city bus basically you can say, and also the other local services like Dabba Wala and all the local facilities that is basically known in Mumbai particularly for the office goers and large number of commuters. We know travel all the day from long distance like Kalyan, Kasara, Thane, Ambernath, Badlapur to CSTM or Dadar. So now the things have restored and people are, you can say the people have gone a bit of respite from the incessant rains and the situation was prevailing in the city yesterday. However, the agencies, the government functionaries are already on their toes, given the fact that the IMD is warning particularly in Mumbai and Raigad, these two districts, and apart from these two districts, the Konkan region, particularly Sindhudurg, Ratnagiri, these are the regions which are coastal regions, and fishermen are basically involved in their activities. So the warnings have already been issued not to venture them to the sea because of high tide has also been predicted by the IMD. Right. But the situation is a bit, you can say, improved in the city, and that's the reason the city is functioning now very normal. The trains are running, flying from their source to destination. There is no water logging as of now. Some pockets there are water logging because the water is receding through high power pumps that have been installed by the agencies. Yeah, over to you. Back to you, Lipakshi.
All right, Yogesh, thank you so much for that update from Mumbai. And moving on, the flood situation in North India's Assam has also improved as intensity of rains decreased in the past few days. At least 6 people have lost their lives on Monday, taking the death toll up to 72 this year. Brahmaputra in some major areas and 8 other rivers are flowing above danger mark. More than 3,000 villages and 27 districts are still reeling under flood waters affecting over 1.8 million people. More than 48,000 inmates are taking shelter in 543 relief camps across the state. And in India, Subina Roy joins us for more from Dibrugarh in Assam. Well, Subina, good morning. Can you give us an entire update on the current situation in Assam right now?
Well, good morning, Lipakshi. The situation here in Assam has improved since yesterday, since the intensity of rains have decreased for the past few days. However, yesterday 6 lives were lost, taking the death toll to 72 this time in this year's flood, Lipakshi. So if you talk about the rivers which are still flowing above danger level, Brahmaputra at certain major points is still flowing above danger level except in Dibrugarh. So the Brahmaputra is flowing at above danger level at Tejpur, Nyamati Ghat, Dhubri, Guwahati, and its other tributaries, 8 of its tributaries like Buri Dihing, Subansiri, Kopili, Karimganj, Kushiara, Borak. These are the rivers which are still flowing above danger level, Lipakshi. So if we talk about the overall population which remains affected, it has decreased from 22 lakhs, which was yesterday, as per yesterday's bulletin, to this today's latest bulletin is 18 lakhs. And the number of villages, over 3,000 villages are still affected in 91 revenue circles. And if you talk about the districts which remain very much affected, Dhubri is one, followed by Kachar, then Gwalpara. If you talk about the rescue relief, Lepakshi, the government has been going round the clock, the NDRF, SDRF, to fix issues, to just take people from inundated areas to safer areas, relief camps. Yesterday, around 543 relief camps were set up, where over 48,000 inmates are still living there, Lepakshi.
All right, Subina, thank you so much for all that update from Assam. And moving on, in U.S., at least 3 people have died in Texas as Hurricane Beryl pummeled the Gulf Coast on Monday, including a police officer on his way to work. Beryl brought heavy rainfall, damaging winds and life-threatening storm surge to the state and left more than 2 million customers without power. Tony Waterman has more from Texas on this.
Now that Beryl is tracking north, officials along the Gulf Coast can really start to assess how extensive the damage is. The storm brought torrential rain to the Houston area, 25 centimeters falling in some areas, which is more than a month's worth of rain. And this was compounded by dangerous storm surge, strong winds bringing that ocean water right on shore. And in fact, near the port of Houston, the water level swelled to more than 3 meters above normal, only the second time that has happened. And streets were completely flooded, homes were flooded as well, and a number of people had to be rescued. When Beryl hit the Gulf Coast early on Monday morning, it was a Category 1 hurricane with wind gusts of up to 150 kilometers per hour. This brought down power lines and trees. At least 2 people were killed in separate incidents when trees fell through their homes as they were trying to ride the storm out. Other injuries have also been reported, but really of paramount importance right now is restoring power. This is crucial for health and safety, especially in the summer heat. Temperatures in Houston are forecast to reach the mid-30s this week, which could pose a new danger to residents. Beryl is now making its way north as a much weaker storm, but it is just the first in what meteorologists are expecting to be an extraordinary hurricane season. They are predicting up to 13 Atlantic hurricanes this year as water temperatures sit at record highs. Tony Waterman in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
All right, still to come on DD India News Hour. In tennis, Novak Djokovic advances to Wimbledon Open quarterfinals. And we'll show you flowers blooming in the world's driest Chile's Atacama Desert.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Khurana, on to some sports news now. The ongoing European Championship comes to its final stages as 3-time winner Spain will take on France in the Euro 2024 semi-finals tonight in Munich. Both of the past 2 explosive tournament matches between Spain and France have distinctly felt like a battle for the very soul of football was taking place. And it will be no different when they meet tonight. However, goal-shy France will be looking to silence the critics as they have come under fire from fans for a string of unimpressive performances, having reached the last 4 without scoring a single goal in open play. Meanwhile, their opponents will hope to keep their impressive campaign going even without midfielder Pedri and Dani Carvajal. And Novak Djokovic produced his best display so far at this year's Wimbledon to dispatch Denmark's Holger Rune 6-3, 6-4, 6-2 and reach the quarter-finals for the 15th time on Monday. The 37-year-old Serb was clinical throughout and won the opening 12 points of a centre-court clash against the Holger Rune, apart from a minor blip at the end of the second set. Djokovic is bidding to match Roger Federer's 8th Wimbledon titles. He'll contest his record extending 60th Grand Slam quarter-final against Australia's Alex de Minaur on Wednesday. And ahead of the Paris Olympics, Athletics Federation of India's President Adele Samaravilla had an exclusive conversation with India's Deepika Mehto and talked about India's contingent at Paris Games and his expectations from the current athletics squad. Take a look.
Dr. Adele Samaravilla, who needs no introduction, he's been working a lot in, uplifting the level of sports across the country, and we've seen the result in the last Olympic also. Sir, when we talk about Neeraj Chopra, we are always reminded of the fact when we talk about upcoming Olympics, talking about the kind of athletes that we are witnessing right now. We just talked about Avinash Sable and other athletes. What are your expectations from the level of athletes, from the quality athletes that we have in the current contingent?
No, we have very, very good athletes in the current contingent. At least 12 of them qualified directly. So those people will probably be able to fight hard to be in the top 8 and be in the finals. The rest have qualified on ranking system. I'd be very happy if all of them can do their personal best, break national records or Asian records, and then see what happens from there, whether they can win medals, not win medals. But the important thing is, can you perform your best? And if you perform your best, I am happy.
This is what the minister has also been saying, that participating is more important, and the government also has been doing a lot in, uplifting the status of sports. What, according to you, made a greater change in bringing a 30 number of athletes to this Olympic contingent this time?
No, the important thing is not participating. The important thing is to participate and do your best. You must repeat your best performance. Just participating, I'm not happy with. So you must go there and do your best performance. Number one. Number two, the government is given all the support through whichever scheme, whether it's Top Scheme, Mission Olympic Cell, ACTC. They've given them foreign coaches, they've given them foreign exposure, they've given them foreign sports scientists, they've given them everything. Now we are supporting them, we've given them what they want. It's their time now to go there and repeat their best performance, and if they do that, I'm very happy.
What is your ultimate message to all the participants?
Enjoy yourself, go there, have fun, but make sure before all of that, you perform, focus, perform, just better your best, that's it.
All right, so there you heard Mr. Adele Samaravilla, who says that focus, perform and do your best. That has to be the mantra for the upcoming Paris Olympics. With camera person Mahesh, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from New Delhi.
Well, the sand dunes in the world's driest desert, Chile's Atacama, are taking a shade of purple and white. Flowers are blooming as early rains brought a change in the weather in the dead of the southern hemisphere winter. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.